You're at Rant Lake, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one is for MOL352, who says, rant about high versus low art using this comic as reference, and it links to a Calvin and Hobbes comic, which starts with Calvin saying, a painting, moving, spiritually enriching, sublime, high art. The comic strip, vapid, juvenile, commercial hack work, low art. A painting of a comic strip panel, sophisticated, irony, philosophically challenging, high art. Then Hobbes says, suppose I draw a cartoon of a painting of a comic strip, sophomoric, intellectually sterile, low art. You know, I think the point that this is trying to make is basically that the distinction is arbitrary and based entirely on what, I mean, none of the statements that Calvin makes about these images is in any way objective or something that, could be quantified. He's just saying that a painting is moving and spiritually enriching and sublime and therefore high art. And then just deciding that a comic is vapid and juvenile, commercial hack work, and low art with no real basis whatsoever. And then convincing himself that because the painting of the comic strip is a painting, it is therefore high art, whereas a comic strip of a painting of a comic would be low art. And it just comes down to, we have made this declaration that this medium is high and this medium is low. There's no reason, it's just the way it is. It's just the way that people have decided that things are. I feel like this high and low art distinction means less and less. I mean, we're in the postmodern era. We're pretty deeply steeped in it on the internet. And I don't know if the existence of, high art-oriented critics is even a thing anymore. Who is out there talking about high versus low art? Who is out there, making those determinations, deciding what is high art and what is low art? Is there any high art left? Are there any young people who give a shit at all? Are there any even older people who give a shit at all? Who is being affected by the distinction? I mean, ultimately, how much a piece of art is worth, say, monetarily, just depends on how much someone is willing to pay for it. How much social status a piece of work has depends on how many people want to look at it. And, we're in an era now where I feel like even government bodies and stuff are, celebrating art that is not considered highbrow by conventional definition. Something that is popular, that is considered consensus beloved, can make it into a museum. It's not so much about what form it takes. It's about, is it good? I went to the Museum of Play in Rochester, where they have enshrined every fucking video game ever, and it's pretty ill. So I don't know if the distinction of high and low art is taken seriously by anybody anymore. I don't know who's perpetuating the idea, or if it matters in any way. I don't think there's anything that's still limiting you. I don't think there's any opportunities that you're missing out on by not being considered high art. I don't think there's a respect that you can't get. Maybe you can't be respected by the specific people who have deemed you to be low art. But, who are those people? Because in this age of, fervent fandom, if you were to, say, be a popular creator and to have a critic rail against your work as low art, your fan base would destroy that person. And a lot of popular critics would also destroy that person. Like what happened to Roger Ebert when he said that video games can't beat art. And the internet discourse was set back for the next 5 years as people shit on him relentlessly. And he apologized for it. It's that distinction doesn't matter and it doesn't affect anybody anymore. So I guess my position on the subject is, who gives a shit?